Hi there. Today we are going to correct page 88 and 89 in your workbook for Handbook for Grammar and Composition. So please turn to page 88. We are going to be making some corrections here. Back up a little. All right. Exercise 156. Page 88. Reviewing the sentence, the word, and mechanics. Edit the following selection to meet the requirements of standard formal English. Now, if you'll recall from our prior notes, standard English, these are all correct forms of English. There's formal, which you use whenever you are doing something like giving a speech or writing a term paper or something like that, trying to really impress, maybe a job interview. This informal is conversational. This is the language you use with your friends. But non-standard English are when it's just using English incorrectly. It's just wrong, okay? So we're going to correct this based on standard formal English. So that's the highest form of English, all right? First, check the sentences for correctness, clearness, and effectiveness. Number two, check the words for correctness, appropriateness, and exactness. Eliminate jargon and triteness, and then wordiness as well. Check the mechanics. Mark your revisions on this page and rewrite the selection on a separate sheet of paper. You may have to write more than one draft. Okay, so we'll just, I'm going to correct all of that here and give you ideas of what words should have been used when you rewrote it, okay? So, it has been said that labor is the result of God's primary curse. Well, so far, I see just one problem, and that's God should be in uppercase G, okay? Pronounced on man with reference to his disobedience. Well, that's not a sentence, is it? No. So let's take the entire sentence fragment and write fragment, okay? And then with reference to is wordy. So when you're rewriting this, you say pronounced on man. Well, I'm assuming that they're talking about the curse. So it has been said that labor is the result of God's primary curse, which was pronounced on man for his disobedience. So maybe 4. Okay. But mistake-wise, such a conception is great. But mistake-wise, interesting. Well, we know mistake-wise is a problem. So let's put that in parentheses. Let's look. I think the glossary of diction again is the issue. Remember last time? Let's look at the words in the glossary of diction. That's section 35. What is it we're looking at? Mistake-wise. I don't see it. Maybe it's under a different word. Want in, want out, want on, want through. These expressions are incorrect. He wants out. I don't know. This, it said 109. in the teacher's book, look, here it is. It's 115. The addition of wise, used by writers of jargon to turn nouns into adverbs. Avoid such ungraceful terms as tax-wise, policy-wise, profit-wise, production-wise, and mistake-wise would be a use of that dash wise. So let's call it a GL, and then it's on 35.115. So GL 35.115. Okay. I'm going to correct the teacher book. Okay. Maybe this may be right, and that might be an old version of the handbook. Okay. Double subject. Remember, God, he. 3540, it says GL. Since we were right there, let's just check what 3540 is. Oh, it's actually 41. Double subject. Do not use a double subject. My father, he. Okay. So this is 3541 for a double subject. He told Adam that the ground was cursed for his sake, but not his labor was cursed. It says PAR. Oh, I was thinking that meant paragraph, but no, parallel. Okay, let's look at that. Remember, phrases have to be in parallel. If there's two phrases that are similar, right, one following the other, they have to be formed the same way. So look, God told Adam that the ground was cursed for his sake, but his labor was not cursed. See, ground was cursed, labor was not cursed. So this would need to be going over there to make it parallel. So that both sides, this but that, this side is structured one way, and that, and then the next one is structured the exact same way. All right. He told him by the sweat of his brow he would eat his bread until he returned to the ground. Okay, so this does not make logical sense. By the sweat of his brow he would have to work the fields, but not eat. So let's see. Logic. It says 21.1, but these have been incorrect. So let's look at section 21 on logic. Do not omit words that are necessary for clarity. It is logic, and it is 21.1 because it's a missing word, but this is the wrong place. The word that, he told him that by the sweat of his brow he would eat his bread till he returned to the ground. Okay? So logic, 21.1, but the word that goes there. It's a missing word. All right? Moving on. But labor, far from partaking of the course, was given man as the means of triumphing over his curse. Nothing wrong with that sentence. The ground was to produce thorns and thistles, but labor was to rout. This is the wrong word. Them out. And to cover, and what word should it be? The route is the path from one to another. Root is the underground base of a plant, or action of taking a plant out completely. Yes, root them out, not route them out, but root. Root, R-O-O-T, instead of route. That's the wrong word. Okay. And then here we've got earth should be lowercase. right? So that's lowercase. I shouldn't have written it either. It's just LC for lowercase. And, you know, again, I'm going back to this correction symbols sheet here. So LC means use lowercase, not capital. All right. Labor has done so. It has already is misspelled. Instead of 2 words, it should be already, A-L-R-E-A-D-Y. Converted the surface of the earth. Again, that should be lowercase. From a wilderness into a paradise. Labor neither is a curse. Okay, so this is, what was it again? Parallelism. So, and it is because the verb has to come before neither. The labor, it should be right there, is, it's a correlative, neither nor. So you do the subject, the verb, then the correlative is, I'm sorry, labor is neither a curse nor a disgrace. In order for it to be parallel, you have to wait till after the verb and then do the first part nor the second part. So that's to make it parallel. So that's P-A-R. Although a man must eat his bread by the sweat of his brow, is there, that's the wrong there. So that's wrong word. It should be T-H-E-R-E. Is there any bread sweeter than that wrung by contest from nature itself? That's wrung meaning if you're going to wring a chicken's neck like that, that's W-R-U-N-G. W-R-U-N-G. That's the wrong word. By contest from nature itself. All right. This is a question, so this is a punctuation problem. It should be a question mark. See, although a man must eat his bread by the sweat of his brow, comma, is there any bread sweeter than that wrung by contest from nature itself? That's a question mark. Labor is the very principle who, okay, principle is not a person, it's a thing. Remember when we talked about pronouns, who and whom are only used for people. That can be used for people or things, and which is, I believe, the one that's only used for things. So in this case, principle, let's use that. And that would be the issue. The correction is GL for glossary of diction. I guess we should look it up since we have been. So glossary of diction, section 35, we're looking for who or that. Okay. Who, which, that, see 3596. So we're going to go to 3596. That, which, who. Use who or whom to refer to persons. Use which to refer to things only, and that refers to person or things. Okay? So I'm glad, that made me nervous. I'm glad I had it right. So we're going to use that, but you could have used which as well. So that or which. Okay? Moving on. Like the winds of the air, the agitation of the sea keeps the world in health. It's the very lifeblood of society, running through all its veins and diffusing vigor and enjoyment through the whole system. Well, that's all a sentence fragment, isn't it? Because That's a dependent clause. You can't just say, running through all its veins and diffusing vigor and enjoyment throughout the whole system, and then walk away. You haven't finished the sentence. So that's a fragment. Its is a punctuation issue because right there, remember, IT apostrophe S is the contraction it is. Possessive for the word its is ITS because you have to reserve the apostrophe S for the contraction. Okay. Veins, wrong word, because it should be the kind of veins that we find like right there. That's those veins, V-E-I-N-S, not like a weather vane. That's a weather vane. You know, the thing on top of the barn that when the wind blows, it turns and turns in the direction of the wind. That's a weather vane. That's V-A-N-E. But veins, V-E-I-N-S, is like that. Running through all its veins and diffusing vigor and enjoyment throughout the whole system. Okay. Without our labor, that's the wrong word. That's even hard to even see what you meant because our, that's O-U-R. Without our labor, not our labor. All life, with the exception of, that's wordy. Instead of that, except the rudest and most savage kind must perish. Arts, civilization, refinement. These are all punctuation issues because commas separate lists of things. Arts, civilization, refinement, and religion must perish. Labor is the grand pedestal of, it's possessive. Whose blessing but our Almighty God's blessing? That's a capital G, not multiple gods. G-O-D-S. That would be plural. This G without the apostrophe, it's plural. But the apostrophe means it's one God with possessive, with one possessive God. So God owns the grand pedestal of blessings upon earth. Like man and the world itself, it is the offspring and the works of God. So that's two sentences jammed together with a comma, isn't it? From here all the way to there, there's no period or question mark or exclamation point. So, I'm sorry, from here to there. But art, civilization, refinement, and religion must perish, period. Okay, well, there's a period there. Maybe I'm wrong. Labor is the grand pedestal of God's blessing upon earth. I think a period belongs there. Like man and the world itself, comma, it is the offspring and the work of God. Yes, so this should be right here. We're going to put RO for run on because that should be period and then capital like. Okay, that's it. So now you can rewrite this correctly. They said you might have to write it a couple of times to get it right. Alrighty, that's it. Let's turn the page. That was a long one. Let's do 89. Hopefully these are shorter. All right. Reviewing parts of speech. Above each italicized word, write its part of speech. Write N for nouns, pro for pronouns, V for verbs, ADJ for adjectives, ADV for adverbs, prep for prepositions, and CONJ for conjunctions. This shouldn't be too hard. So I am going to underline the italicized words just so I don't miss them. So that one is, and that one is, that one is, that one is. Is that all of them? There should be 4. 1, 2. Nope. Known is italicized as well. In photocopies, it's hard for me to tell what's italicized. Okay. Sing unto the Lord. That's a prep. Unto the Lord's a prepositional phrase. For is a conjunction. For he hath done, like and he hath done. For he hath done excellent things. That's an adjective because it's describing a noun. A thing is a noun. This this whole thing is the antecedent for this pronoun is known. That's a verb in all the earth. Okay, good. Let's underline these. So I will punish the world for their evil. It's easier if I look at the screen. Looks like wicked and there. I will cause the arrogancy of the proud, low, haughtiness, and terrible. Okay, so and I will punish the world for their evil. That's prep, because for their evil is a prepositional phrase. And the wicked, that should be a noun, because we're referring to a wicked person, but we don't say person, we just the wicked, or that they're people. For their, that's a pronoun. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's not. It answers the question, which one, what kind, how many, how much, and whose. Whose iniquity? Their iniquity. That's an adjective. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud, that should be another noun, yeah, to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. So low is describing how we lay, and will lay is the verb. So what describes verbs? That's an adverb, ADV. The haughtiness of the terrible. That's an adjective? No, that's a noun. Haughtiness is a noun. Like love is a noun, or arrogance is a noun. It's a thing. And then of the terrible is a noun as well. Terrible could be an adjective, but since of the terrible is a prepositional phrase, terrible is a noun that's acting as the object of that prepositional phrase. Okay? Now next. And it shall come to pass that before, is that right? Before, yeah. And yet speaking. Okay. And it shall come. So that's a subject, which is a noun. Actually, they're saying pronoun. Yeah, which is true. It is in our list of pronouns. Let me write that more clearly. Shall come, that's a verb, to pass that before they call. This is a conjunction. Okay, so it's a subordinated conjunction. Before they call, I will answer. Okay, so that before they call, I will answer, and another conjunction, while they are yet speaking. So let's do speaking first, because yet is hard. Speaking is a verb. It's something we're doing, an action verb. And yet, our speaking it's the word in between are and speaking. Both of those are verbs. Are is a helping verb. Speaking is an action verb. In between them, yet would be like not. Are not speaking, are yet speaking. Those are adverbs. That's telling us about how we're speaking. All right? Good. Now, before we move on to this next unit, to prove that you are here for the whole video, I would like for you to circle exercise 158 on your paper. And if that's circled, I know that you watched this video to this point, okay? All right. Reviewing uses in the sentence. Above each italicized word, write its use. Subject, verb, direct object, indirect object, retained object, objective complement, predicate nominative, predicate adjective, object of preposition, a positive, direct address, adjective, or adverb. There's a lot of things to find. Okay, so in the first sentence, we're looking for the word who, developer, car, and part. Okay, so these are functions. So in this, Henry Ford, in the context of this appositive, who is the developer of the inexpensive Model T, in the context of that appositive clause, or it's actually an adjective clause because it's describing Henry Ford. Who is the subject? Was is the verb. Developer is the predicate nominative. Okay? Remember, context is everything. We have to find the clause and do the function of the word inside its clause. So that's subject. The whole clause is the appositive. Okay? Well, I guess it's a noun clause, isn't it? I just corrected myself because this appositive is always a noun, isn't it? Henry Ford, the man. Well, that's an appositive. Well, now, Henry Ford, who was the developer of the inexpensive Model T, that whole thing is the noun. So that's a noun clause. Okay. Now, so Henry Ford made the family car. He made, it's an action verb. That should be direct object. Okay. He made it a permanent part. All right. So this one's tough. So he made the car a part. That's the noun that follows a direct object and renames it. He made the car a part. A permanent's just describing it. So a car a part. That would be the objective complement. Because it's like my dog Max. He made the car a part. Okay? That's a toughie. Those are always hard when they're not like dog Max sort of sentences. Both paintings examined closely by Dr. Bardis, the curator of the museum, looked identical. The minute differences between them, the minute, differences between them were extremely difficult to see, but one of them is counterfeit. Gosh, there's a lot. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I'm missing one. Where's the other? Oh, C. That's difficult to see that is italicized. Okay. Both paintings examined closely. Okay. We are describing which paintings? The ones that were examined closely by Dr. Bardis. And then the curator of the museum is in a positive. So this is an adjective. Which paintings? The ones that were examined closely by Dr. Bardis. And that's going to be paintings examined closely. That is a phrase, a participle phrase, because it's not an adjective clause because there's no subject. It's just a verb. So that's a phrase, but it starts with a participle, which is it's used as an adjective. Okay, the curator is a noun. Oh, of course it is, but that's in a positive. I said that earlier, I think. Of the museum looked identical. Okay, so in this case, the paintings. This is the context of the main sentence. So we're ignoring the adjective, the participle phrase and the appositive, and we're just looking at the main sentence's subject, which is paintings, and the main sentence's verb is looked, and then our identical is the complement. Now, what kind of complement is it? Well, looked is one of those words in our list of verbs that can be either linking or action. Okay, so if I looked into the basket to see the food, that's action. But if I could substitute the word looked for the word is, then that's linking. You remember the list of verbs that can be both linking and action? Look, appear, become, seem, grow, remain, and stay. I hope you have those memorized. Look, appear, become, seem, grow, remain, stay. Look, in this case, could be the painting is identical, or paintings were identical. So that actually is a linking verb. And since that's a linking verb, then identical is either a predicate adjective or a predicate nominative. Well, is this a noun or an adjective? Identical is an adjective, so this would be a PA. Okay? The minute differences, okay, between them were extremely difficult to see. So we're in a new clause. See the semicolon, that means this is an independent clause. The minute differences between them were difficult to see. So were is the verb, differences is the subject. Between them, this is a prepositional phrase, so that makes them object of preposition. Were is the verb, extremely difficult. They were difficult. That's a predicate adjective again, right? Because difficult is not a noun. To see, that is not a prepositional phrase because a verb can't be in a prepositional phrase. To see is an infinitive, but we don't, that's not a function, right? And so it actually, how is this infinitive functioning? Well, it's either going to be, infinitives can be nouns, adjectives, or adverbs. In this case, we see that it's describing difficult. Difficult is an adjective, a predicate adjective, so it must be an adverb because adjectives can't follow, adjectives can't describe other adjectives. Only adverbs can describe adjectives. So that's why to see is an adverb describing difficult. But one of them is counterfeit. Okay, one is the this is a new clause with the semicolon there. So one is the subject, of them is a prepositional phrase. Is the linking verb. Counterfeit is a noun, so predicate nominative. All right. Number 3, the college, which was bequeathed almost $2 million by the wealthy industrialist Arnold McAllister, college is underlined too, has decided to name its new dormitory McAllister Hall. Okay, well, so is that all? College, dollars, McAllister Hall. Yeah. Okay, so the college has decided. So this is our subject of the main sentence. Now, so inside, this is a clause, which was bequeathed almost $2 million by wealthy industrialist Arnold McAllister. Well, let's go to the easy one first. By the wealthy industrialist Arnold McAllister. That's going to be an, so by the wealthy industrialist, that's a prepositional phrase, right? And so industrialist is an object of preposition, which is a noun. And then Arnold McAllister is in a positive describing who the industrialist is. By the wealthy industrialist. Who's that? Oh, let's make positively sure we know who it is. It's Arnold McAllister. So this is an AP, a positive. Okay. Now go back to dollars. Which is a pronoun, that's the subject. Was bequeathed is the verb. What was he bequeathed? Dollars. Was bequeathed is an action verb, that should be a direct object. Oh, it's not. It's not. Okay. It's not a direct object. It would be, but this, if this was active voice, or then dollars were what was bequeathed. So the subject would be dollars were bequeathed. But in this case, it's passive voice because dollars is not the subject, but that still was what was bequeathed. So what would be the direct object in that sentence is called the retained object. So if it looks like a direct object, but it's in a passive voice sentence or clause, that clause is in passive voice, then you call it a retained object instead of a direct object, okay? By the wealthy industrialist. Okay, and the last one has decided, so college has decided to name, that's infinitive, its new dormitory McAllister Hall. That's in a positive as well because we're making sure we know that the noun dormitory, which dormitory? McAllister Hall, okay? Now the last one, so we got David is underlined, that's an italicized word. Who is, divided is, itself is. Okay. David, that's a direct address because we're talking to somebody and saying, hey, David, was it not Abraham Lincoln who said? So that's a direct address, a DA. Okay? Was it not Abraham Lincoln who said, well, that's the subject, who said, a house divided, which house? The divided house. So that's an adjective. Which one? Which one, what kind, how many, how much, and whose? A divided house against itself. Against is a preposition. Against itself is a prepositional phrase, so that must be an object of preposition. Okay, that's all the corrections for that. Please upload a photo of your corrected pages on the assignment. Turn that in. I'll give you credit. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. I miss you. See you next time.